Mr. Hogan, you said previously that one of the biggest crime-related issues in Maryland is the growing heroin epidemic. Now, this is an especially big problem in Western Maryland. If elected governor, how would you specifically address the issue on a local and a state level? And do you feel the state has failed to adequately address this problem?
Well, it's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. And as I've been around the state, I was shocked to hear how bad this problem was. Every county, I've been to all 23 counties multiple times, and I've sat down with, healthcare providers and addictions counselors and first responders and police officers and state's attorneys and toured jails and met with folks to talk about this issue. And I was in Hagerstown, for example, when I talked with the state's attorney who said the #1 issue in Hagerstown is heroin. And that came as a surprise to me. And then I went to St. Mary's County and talked to the sheriff down there. He said 60% of their problems are caused by heroin. I was in Caroline County on the shore when I said, what's the #1 issue or problem you're facing with here in your county? And I wasn't even talking about crime. And they said our #1, this is a very rural county, that said our #1 issue is heroin. We have a heroin epidemic here in Maryland. We've been called the heroin capital of the United States. We're being infiltrated with gangs. 60 or 70% of the people in the Frederick County jail are gang-related and heroin-related. It's a major disaster. We're the heroin capital of the United States. We're the only state on the East Coast that has not declared a state of emergency over this very serious problem. In January, I will immediately declare a state of emergency and call a summit together to bring all of the various components together, sit around the table to figure out how we attack this problem. It's a major, major issue.
Lieutenant Governor.
Sure, thank you. Jeff, in June, we sat down with local government officials from rural communities and throughout Maryland to talk about and to devise a plan for addressing heroin, the proliferation of heroin that's showing up, particularly in our rural communities, although not limited to our rural communities. So we've done a number of things. One is we stepped up the Maryland State Police on their interdiction of large quantities moving through the state. Number two is we're reinforcing local law enforcement strategies. A governor doesn't come into local communities and says what their strategies are. So we're reinforcing that. Maryland State Police that are on the ground with local police, better training, also identification of what a heroin overdose looks like, and given the tools and the medication to help prevent that. But the other thing, and this is why I supported the decriminalization of possession of small amounts of marijuana. It'll save our state about $100 million a year in prosecuting those. We can take those funds and do better drug treatment and addiction counseling and treatment and education and outreach, particularly to our younger populations, so that they stay away from heroin and other dangerous substances.
Okay, we're going to keep moving. We'll go to Deb. We're going to try to do no rebuttals here and ask you to stick to your time. Okay. Deb.
Lieutenant Governor, if elected, you would become the first African-American governor in the state's history. Does race matter in this race?
I understand the significance of race and certainly the historical significance of being elected Maryland's governor. I'll be only the first African-American elected governor in the history of this state and only the third in the history of this nation. I think where race has more significance is when we look at, for example, education, and the question was raised about the achievement gap. We have an achievement gap along racial lines, and that's why I support universal pre-K to help close that achievement gap. We talked a little about health care, but I wish we would have talked more broadly about health reform because we know that we have health disparities by both race, ethnicity, and geography. That's why I led the effort to create health enterprise zones to address those disparities so we can eliminate differences in outcomes along racial lines. So I think race is important to the extent that the quality of life goals that we achieve ought to be experienced uniformly by all Marylanders, regardless of where your family lives, where they're from, race, ethnicity, or nationality.
Mr. Hogan, same question to you.
Well, I don't know about you at home, but I have no idea what he just said. The question was, look, I don't think race has any part whatsoever in this race for governor, and the people I talk to around the state don't really care if the next governor is going to be white or black or Asian or Hispanic. They're looking for somebody that's going to turn the state around. They don't want to go in the same direction. They're looking to move Maryland forward rather than continuing to move backwards. And I don't think it should be an issue, and I don't think it is an issue. You know, my wife would be the first Asian first lady in Maryland history, and that shouldn't be an issue either.
Steve Hammond.
All right. Most people, I think, in the state of Maryland would agree that this has been a pretty nasty, pretty negative race. And I've heard the word lies used occasionally in the campaign. And here's your chance to set the record straight. My question is, what's the most offensive, most egregious misperception or lie that your opponent has said about you, and what's the truth?
Mr. Hogan, you're up.
Well, it's really hard to narrow it down. You know, my opponent's campaign has been called the most dishonest and most negative in the entire country. I called it the worst I've ever seen in my entire life. He's run, I think, 10 attack ads, you know, $16 million of special interest money in running some of the most hateful, most disgusting television ads that ever been run. And it's really hurt his campaign. It's caused us to help close the gap because people are tired of politicians and they're tired of politics and they don't like this kind of negative campaigning. We've run a very positive campaign. All of our commercials are positive, and I think people are responding to our positive vision for the future. But every single word in every single commercial that the Lieutenant Governor has run is absolutely false. And it's not worth repeating them all here because they're just completely false and they have no business in politics. I mean, he says that I want to take away a woman's right to choose even in the cases of rape and incest. It's absolutely false. I'm going to change nothing with respect to reproductive rights. I've said it over and over and over again. He says I want to put assault weapons in the schoolyards and put them in shopping carts, and that's absolutely false. He says I'm going to take money away from rich corporations, take money away from school kids and give it to rich corporations. Every ad is completely false, and I've said we're not going to change any of these issues. Those have never been my positions, and he's been roundly criticized by, you know, liberal commentators across the country and from the Baltimore Sun and from other places about the blatant falsehoods, and people are not responding well to it. And I think it's one of the reasons why they're looking to go in a different direction.
Lieutenant Governor.
Yep. Look, I don't focus a whole lot on the ads that Mr. Hogan is running. I do know that campaigns are a conversation that we have with voters, and wherever I travel in Maryland, a lot of issues come up, and it's not for candidates to say what is an issue important in the campaign and what isn't. I travel, for example, around the state. Voters say, hey, where are you on the Firearm Safety Act? It was passed a year ago. We're already starting to see reductions in gun-related crimes. Mr. Hogan opposed Senate Bill 281. Senate Bill 281 would have taken assault weapons off the streets, high-capacity magazines off the street, and required common-sense background checks. I supported it. It passed. You opposed it. Senate Bill 281 also would authorize mental health records be made available to state and local law enforcement. Senate Bill 281 also restricts a category of Marylanders with mental illness from getting guns. And Mr. Hogan opposed that. Now, he's not going to tell Marylanders that he opposed it, but certainly that's part of the conversation. You oppose Senate Bill 281, which makes streets safer, and Marylanders ought to know about that. So what part of that is a lie?
I don't think he understood the question. Look, I
don't want to characterize your commercials. I'm talking about the ads that we're putting on,
my
Larry.
commercials are great. Here's what my commercials focus on. They focus on what Marylanders are focused
But
on.
what you're not focusing on is
my time now.
you flip-flopped on the minimum
it's
wage.
my turn.
You flip-flop on the minimum wage.
Hey, let's
You
not interrupt,
flip-flop
okay?
On gun
I realize
control.
you're a Lieutenant Governor,
You
but it's my turn
flip-flop
to talk now.
on college affordability. I mean, come on.
Okay, let's
Gentlemen,
give me a
we could
shot
do this
here.
all day. Let's give Jeff his shot. We'll keep it
But
going.
I'd like to at least respond to some of that.
I tell you what,
All right, go ahead, Jeff.
No, we'll give you about 30. We'll give you 30 on this, Jeff. We're going to get to you. I promise.
Look, here's what Marylanders are focused on. Marylanders are focused on the fact that we've raised taxes 40 times in a row, that we've lost 200,000 jobs, the fact that we've lost 8,000 businesses. They're concerned about the fact that we've had zero economic growth, that our state economy ranks 49th out of 50 states. That's what I've focused on like a laser beam for 3.5 years. They're not concerned about any of these crazy issues that you're trying to distract voters with because you cannot defend your 8-year record of failure. You did not deserve a promotion, okay? We've had lost businesses, lost jobs, higher spending, record tax increases, and broken promises. That's what Marylanders are concerned
All right, I'll hold
about.
you to the 30, Lieutenant Governor.
Yep. Marylanders care about gun safety. You oppose gun safety legislation. Marylanders won. I think about that 33-year-old woman in Dundalk raising one child, making minimum wage. We voted to raise that. You voted against. You opposed it. I know you didn't vote. You weren't in the legislature. You opposed it. College tuition, you jacked it up 40%. We've made it much more affordable. Marylanders ought to know about that.
We already heard all the commercials.
Well, these are important
They're all
issues.
false.
Gentlemen,
These
let's
are
do
important
this. Let's
issues.
get to Jeff. We'll give you 30 seconds to answer this question. We only have about 4 minutes left in the show. Jeff?
There has been renewed discussion among some lawmakers and voters in Western Maryland about creating a new state consisting of Carroll, Frederick, Washington, Allegheny, and Garrett counties. It's unlikely anything like that would ever happen, but it does illustrate the divide in the state. How would you bring the state together?
Gentlemen, 30 seconds.
Me first. Well, first of all, I don't think we should be having any part of the state secede, but it's an indication of the problem and the concern that I hear everywhere I go. It's not only in Western Maryland or the Eastern Shore, it's Southern Maryland. People feel a huge disconnect between Annapolis and the rest of Maryland, and they feel as if their concerns are being neglected and ignored, and they don't like the direction the state is heading, which is why they're so concerned, and it's quite frankly why we have such a competitive race for governor. But it's I want to make Maryland a better place so that we can keep everybody together and make it one Maryland everybody can be proud of.
Mr. Brown.
Yep, I believe one Maryland, regional strategies. Western Maryland has a regional strategy and county plans. Look, when I travel around the state of Maryland, whether I'm in Oakland, whether I'm in Cumberland, whether I'm in Frostburg, Hagerstown, Frederickstown, families want the same thing. They want to know that there's a governor fighting for them, whether it's expanding pre-K. In fact, there's a greater need for pre-K education in Western Maryland than there is in Baltimore City because of the unmet needs in Western Maryland. When my running mates out there fighting to expand broadband in rural Maryland, that's the highway of this innovation economy. That's going to be of tremendous benefit to Western Maryland.
Sir,
so you need a governor, we need a governor that's going to govern for all of Maryland.
Sir, I apologize. We're going to get to your final statements now. I'm going to push it a little ahead here. As we discussed earlier, we tossed the coin up earlier. Mr. Hogan, you'll get a shot at closing statements. First, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. The decision that we make in this election will have a lasting impact on the future of our state. It breaks my heart that nearly half of all Marylanders want to leave our state. Boyd Rutherford and I want to make Maryland a place we can all be proud of, a place where a young person could start a career, where you can be able to raise a family, where you can afford to retire. The state is way off track and heading in the wrong direction. We want to turn things around. I'm running for governor because I believe that the average Marylander is fed up with politics as usual. With your help, on November 4, we can send a loud and clear message to the politicians in Annapolis, and together we can change Maryland for the better. Thank you.
Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you. I believe firmly that every Marylander should be able to pursue and achieve the American dream. The idea that if you work hard, play by the rules, sacrifice from time to time, you should be able to achieve your dreams. My family came to this country 6 decades ago. My father out of poverty in Kingston, Jamaica. He was able to provide for his family and make a difference in our community because of the college education that he receives. Every day, Ken Ullman and I will get up with Marylanders fighting for working families and middle-class values. That's why we'll invest in quality, affordable pre-K and career technology education. That's why we'll fight every day to keep guns off our streets and ensure that every Marylander can raise their family in a safe neighborhood. We'll see the minimum wage implemented in Maryland, and we'll respect the dignity of every Marylander. Ken Ullman and I need you not just on November 4th, and I ask tonight for your vote. Ken Ullman and I need you for the next 4 years as together we build a better Maryland for more Marylanders.
All right. I want to thank our candidates, Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown and Mr. Larry Hogan as well, for spending this time with us and sharing their vision for leading Maryland. And thanks to all of you who are watching or listening to this debate. We hope that when you head to the polls on November 4th, that this debate has given you the answers that you need to pick the next governor of Maryland. I'm Jason Newton for all of us at WBAL, WBOC, WHAG, Maryland Public Television. Good night, everybody.